Section 54 of Villette by Charlotte Bronte. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Leanne Fortune. Section 54. The spring was advancing and the weather had turned suddenly warm. This change of temperature brought with it for me, as probably for many others, temporary decrease of strength. Slight exertion at this time left me overcome with fatigue. Sleepless nights entailed languid days. One Sunday afternoon, having walked the distance of half a league to the Protestant church, I came back weary and exhausted, and taking refuge in my solitary sanctuary, the first class, I was glad to sit down and to make of my desk a pillow for my arms and head. Awhile I listened to the lullaby of bees humming in the berceau, and watched, through the glass door and the tender, lightly strewn spring foliage, Madame Beck and a gay party of friends, whom she had entertained that day at dinner after morning mass, walking in the centre alley under orchard boughs, dressed at this season in blossom, and wearing a colouring as pure and warm as mountain snow at sunrise. My principal attraction towards this group of guests lay, I remember, in one figure, that of a handsome young girl whom I had seen before as a visitor at Madame Beck's, and of whom I had been vaguely told that she was a filleule or goddaughter of Monsieur Emmanuel's, and that between her mother or aunt, or some other female relation of hers, and the professor, had existed of old a special friendship. Monsieur Paul was not of the holiday band to-day, but I had seen this young girl with him ere now, and as far as distant observation could enable me to judge, she seemed to enjoy him with the frank ease of a ward with an indulgent guardian. I had seen her run up to him, put her arm through his, and hang upon him. Once, when she did so, a curious sensation had struck through me, a disagreeable anticipatory sensation, one of the family of presentiments, I suppose, but I refuse to analyze or dwell upon it. While watching this girl, Mademoiselle Severe by name, and following the gleam of her bright silk robe, she was always richly dressed, for she was said to be wealthy, through the flowers and the glancing leaves of tender emerald, my eyes became dazzled. They closed. My lassitude, the warmth of the day, the hum of bees and birds, all lulled me, and at last I slept. 2 hours stole over me. Ere I woke, the sun had declined out of sight behind the towering houses. The garden and the room were grey, bees had gone homeward, and the flowers were closing. The party of guests, too, had vanished. Each alley was void. On waking, I felt much at ease, not chill, as I ought to have been after sitting so still for at least 2 hours. My cheek and arms were not benumbed by pressure against the hard desk. No wonder, instead of the bare wood on which I had laid them, I found a thick shawl, carefully folded, substituted for support, and another shawl, both taken from the corridor where such things hung, wrapped warmly round me. Who had done this? Who was my friend? Which of the teachers? Which of the pupils? None, except St. Pierre, was inimical to me, but which of them had the art, the thought, the habit of benefiting thus tenderly? Which of them had a step so quiet, a hand so gentle, but I should have heard or felt her if she had approached or touched me in a day's sleep? As to Ginevra Fanshawe, that bright young creature was not gentle at all, and would certainly have pulled me out of my chair if she had meddled in the matter. I said at last, "It is Madame Beck's doing. She has come in, seen me asleep, and thought I might take cold. She considers me a useful machine, answering well the purpose for which it was hired, so would not have me needlessly injured. And now, methought, I'll take a walk. The evening is fresh, and not very chill." So I opened the glass door and stepped into the berceau. I went to my own alley. Had it been dark, or even dusk, I should have hardly ventured there, for I had not yet forgotten the curious illusion of vision, if illusion it were, experienced in that place some months ago. But a ray of the setting sun, burnished still the grey crown of Jean Baptiste, nor had all the birds of the garden yet vanished into their nests amongst the tufted shrubs and thick wall ivy. I paced up and down, thinking almost the same thoughts I had pondered that night when I buried my glass jar, how I should make some advance in life, take another step towards an independent position, for this train of reflection, though not lately pursued, had never by me been wholly abandoned, and whenever a certain eye was averted from me, and a certain countenance grew dark with unkindness and injustice, into that track of speculation did I at once strike, so that little by little I had laid half a plan. Living costs little, said I to myself, in this economical town of Villette, where people are more sensible than I understand they are in dear old England, infinitely less worried about appearance, and less emulous of display, where nobody is in the least ashamed to be quite as homely and saving as he finds convenient. House rent in a prudently chosen situation need not be high. When I shall have saved 1,000 francs, I will take a tenement with one large room, and 2 or 3 smaller ones, furnish the first with a few benches and desks, a black tableau, an estrade for myself, upon it a chair and table, with a sponge and some white chalks, begin with taking day pupils, and so work my way upwards. Madame Beck's commencement was, as I have often heard her say, from no higher starting point, and where is she now? All these premises and this garden are hers, bought with her money. She has a competency already secured for old age, and a flourishing establishment under her direction, which will furnish a career for her children. Courage, Lucy Snowe! With self-denial and economy now, and steady exertion by and by, an object in life need not fail you. Venture not to complain that such an object is too selfish, too limited, and lacks interest. Be content to labor for independence until you have proved, by winning that prize, your right to look higher. But afterwards, is there nothing more for me in life, no true home, nothing to be dearer to me than myself, and by its paramount preciousness to draw from me better things than I care to culture for myself only? Nothing at whose feet I can willingly lay down the whole burden of human egotism, and gloriously take up the nobler charge of laboring and living for others? I suppose, Lucy Snowe, the orb of your life is not to be so rounded. For you, the crescent phase must suffice. Very good. I see a huge mass of my fellow creatures in no better circumstances. I see that a great many men, and more women, hold their span of life on conditions of denial and privation. I find no reason why I should be of the few favored. I believe in some blending of hope, and sunshine sweetening the worst lots. I believe that this life is not all, neither the beginning nor the end. I believe while I tremble, I trust while I weep. So, this subject is done with. It is right to look our life accounts bravely in the face now and then, and settle them honestly, and he is a poor self-swindler who lies to himself while he reckons the items, and sets down under the head, happiness that which is misery. Call anguish, anguish, and despair, despair. Write both down in strong characters with a resolute pen. You will the better pay your debt to doom. Falsify, insert privilege where you should have written pain, and see if your mighty creditor will allow the fraud to pass, or accept the coin with which you would cheat him. Offer to the strongest, if the darkest angel of God's host, water when he has asked blood. Will he take it? Not a whole pale sea for one red drop. I settled another account. Pausing before Methuselah, the giant and patriarch of the garden, and leaning my brow against his knotty trunk, my foot rested on the stone, sealing the small sepulchre at his root, and I recalled the passage of being therein buried. I recalled Dr. John, my warm affection for him, my faith in his excellence, my delight in his grace. What was become of that curious one-sided friendship, which was half marble and half life, only on one hand truth, and on the other perhaps a jest? Was this feeling dead? I do not know, but it was buried. Sometimes I thought the tomb unquiet, and dreamed strangely of disturbed earth, and of hair, still golden and living, obtruded through coffin chinks. Had I been too hasty? I used to ask myself, and this question would occur with a cruel sharpness after some brief chance interview with Dr. John. He had still such kind looks, such a warm hand, his voice still kept so pleasant a tone for my name. I never liked Lucy so well as when he uttered it, but I learnt in time that this benignity, this cordiality, this music, belonged in no shape to me. It was a part of himself, it was the honey of his temper, it was the balm of his mellow mood. He imparted it, as the ripe fruit rewards with sweetness the rifling bee. He diffused it about him, as sweet plants shed their perfume. Does the nectarine love either the bee or bird it feeds? Is the sweet briar enamoured of the air? Good night, Dr. John. You are good, you are beautiful, but you are not mine. Good night, and God bless you. End of section 54. Recording by Leanne Fortune.